Happy Independence, Uganda. Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Hot Seat on 933 KFM. I welcome you, our listeners who are listening to this program on this Independence Day, which is the 62nd Independence anniversary for Uganda, and national celebrations have been taking place in Busia. The president has made quite a number of pronouncements, and he seems to be in a very optimistic mood about the economy and the trajectory of Uganda, 62 years of independence. And let me introduce my guest who has made it on time, Senior Presidential Advisor, Mr. Moses Byaruhanga. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. Happy Independence.
Good evening, Patrick. Happy Independence to you, my colleagues who are normally with you here on Wednesday. I hope they are coming. And our listeners out there, Happy Independence Day to Uganda.
Thank you so much, Moses, for finding time and joining us today on this show, especially on a day like this, 62nd Independence anniversary. But, you know, these African countries, when we talk about independence anniversaries that we celebrate, apart from just kicking away the Muzungu, in some cases, we have made some progress, of course, obviously, but in some areas, Moses, we have not, especially in managing our affairs, our cities, our towns, you know, our infrastructure. There are things, when you look, that have really been broken down ever since we took the affairs into our hands. Would I be right to make such an assessment?
Well, yes and no, because on the whole, any African country, apart from the ones like Somalia, like others which are under civil internal strife, many of the countries, in whatever way you look at it, are at better advantage, or in terms of progress, they are more progressed than they were at the time they got independence. So, yes, that's why I say yes and no. In some cases, you might single out this was that, but on the whole, if you take Uganda, by 1962, everything today is at, if you look at the economy, if you look at the health sector, all these sectors, you realize that Uganda is much better off today than it was many years ago, 62 years ago.
There is a quote that I think which is attributed to Ian Smith, former president of Rhodesia, which I think now is Zimbabwe, and he said,
I think it was Prime Minister,
yeah. Ian Smith, and was talking about that he give African to lead themselves. Before you know it, the cities will be broken down. Before you know it, the railway system will be broken down. Before you know it, the sewage system will be broken down. And before you know it, everything is down. If you actually look in some of our cities, Moses, including Kampala and others, that is the truth. Why is it that we have failed to manage certain infrastructure? I don't think we have expanded so much. Like, for example, Kampala's, if you look at the 7 original hills of Kampala, Moses, and you look at how we have built our own, you know, we put Kasokoso and put all those things of Kabulengo and whatever, the situation is bad and pathetic. These people, and I'm not appeasing them, I'm not even apologetic to them, but the truth is, let's face it, they seem to have been more organized in putting up an infrastructure that is better. When we came, we have destroyed.
We haven't destroyed per se, but I must say, first of all, the population is they were dealing with were much fewer, and some of these countries were run as if they were part of the colonial masters countries, so they were part of the budget. When the UK will be making a budget in Parliament in Britain, the colonies will be part of it when they were budgeting for them. And so many of these African countries have had challenges in terms of raising enough funds to do each and everything at the same time. Prioritization has also been part of the challenge. At that time, somebody can say, okay, they made the railway, for instance, from Mombasa up to Kampala, up to Kasese and other parts of Uganda, with the sole purpose of taking away exports to Europe. Most of these exports, at that time, the countries in Africa, Uganda inclusive, were getting peanuts in terms of pricing. That's how most of these economies were built in such a way that they provide raw materials, like now here it was especially like cotton and tea and tobacco to the factories in Europe. Instead of developing the local economies.
The Uganda Railway, built in about 100 years back, from Mombasa up to Busia or Nairobi, and including what was built from Kampala up to Kasese and other places. Moses, with less technology, with a lot of difficulties, these people were able to deliver a vital infrastructure. Even though copper probably was depleted there, we ought to have kept it, Moses. Because we need it. Look, now we're about even to start laying calipers again or whatever, railway lane back to Kasese and back to Pakwach, yet this thing was there.
Yeah, it was there.
So what I'm saying is that we have been of our own disadvantage.
To some extent, yes.
Yes, but you see,
wait, listen. You see, it is, if you look at the railway, who has been vandalizing it? It is Ugandans, not even government people. Ugandan people vandalizing it for the sake of going to smelt it and making some
the scrap yard and selling it as scrap
like that. So we also owe our own behavior to ourselves. Why would anybody even be buying something you know it has been stolen?
But can that behavior, Moses, also be dependent, Moses, on the leadership that can sort of try to create some values in the people?
You see, values, I don't know what the values are created by just leadership.
I think leadership can, Moses.
It starts with the family. Most of the values, Kamara, you have, you can trace them to your parents. To your parents. Most of the values the children have, you can trace them to you and your wife. So as Ugandans, as families, that's the best unit of a country is a family. So if families break down, then you will have such cases happening. I mean, if you're talking about railway, if somebody is going to overhaul the railway and start selling, the one buying must know this is stolen. If you bring to me something which I believe to be stolen, I can't buy it. Even though how much I need it, I cannot buy it. In fact, you should be able to report someone who's doing this. So, yes, the state has some role to do. The social institutions like religious institutions, civil society, have a role to play, but the family is the basic unit to ensure that...
I don't know why you really want to take away the responsibility of the state leadership in shaping the values and the discipline and a certain context in which people can be able to behave as a country. Because I think if the leader is resolute on things that cannot be done, including state institutions can fight corruptions in a way that even the guy who's going to buy railway clippers or railway metal clippers will say, I can't do this because the state will be able to know and then I'll be punished. And the 40 years of our independence are more or less in the hands of the NRM government that is still leading today.
Well, see, the state, you see, Kamara, I've argued here before and in some of my writings, one of the best ways and basic ways of fighting corruption is through technology. If that railway had the camera system overseeing it through, it would easily... recently, some time back I was in Europe, and here we were driving in a car. Then asked the driver that, you're maintaining the same speed. Why are you... And it is a highway, there are not so many vehicles around. He said, no, if I go beyond this, the cameras will get me.
I hear what you're saying for today. But do you realize from the 1950s up to the 70s, even when the cameras were not in Europe, the railway line was not getting vandalized?
No, listen to me, as I said, but now the breakdown during the time we went through contributed to this. There was no stability in government for so many years. But the point I'm making is that here somebody was saying, I fear... now the value is now instituted in him that if I overdrive in terms of overspeed, the cameras will get me. So the technology is helping even shape this person's behavior and the values that you're saying about. So similarly, in some of these cases, yes, the vandalization, the thing and so forth could be stopped if there was a mechanism of somebody saying, if I do this, I will be stressed and tasked and maybe punished for it. So we need to do much more of that. But also, as I said, yes, the state has some blame you can put some blame on the state, but who makes the state? See, we individuals.
But when you look at also other sectors and compare the journey we have made, Moses, and the promise of independence, what we thought we could do and what we have failed to achieve, and then to see some of the structures that are of national these are really monuments. Look at, for example, the dam that was built on Jinja, on the River Nile. It has taken us such a long journey, maybe another 70 years or more, to build another dam, using colossal sums of money. And we could not do that for 60 years, nothing. The hospital, the National Referral Hospital, we haven't added as much, apart from renovating Moses. But also, there are many areas where we seem to have really retarded.
Kamara, see, if you look at the power sector, yes, you can have many dams, but the dams, today, part of the tariff you pay, you and I pay, which is not low, is to what they call to pay for deemed energy, meaning you have a dam producing our I think today our generation capacity is
beyond what we can consume.
Is beyond what I don't have the correct figure, but it's above 1,200 megawatts, while our consumption at peak is about 800 megawatts. But the agreements are made in such a way that you have to pay for whatever is produced.
For that redundant power, that one that's not being used.
Yes, not being used. Now, if we had say 3,000 megawatts being produced, and you have to pay for even that one which you're not using today, the price you're paying will be maybe 2 times what you're paying, and you will be crying. So our line has been, yes, make sure we don't have a load shedding again, but we have enough power at any one moment in time, and that's what we have been able to achieve as a KNRM. We recently, the Kokoroma Dam generating 600 megawatts was commissioned. We have the second dam in the Jinja. We have so many other smaller mini hydro dams. I think about now 2 solar stations, one in Soroti and one in Gomba here. And of course, the cogeneration from Kakira Sugar Works, from Rugazi Sugar Works, and others. So we have enough power. So you cannot say you should have had much more while our demand is still low. Now, when you talk about, so on that one, I think we beat you. What you are talking about. On the health sector, you know about Mulago being refurbished and so forth. That's fine. But today, if you look at the distance somebody travels to reach a health center, today we are much better off than we were 62 years ago. If you look at immunization, today we are much better off. Because you see, health for you always look at the medical, the treatment side.
The curative
side. But health is also preventive. So if you look at the preventive side, I think we are doing so well today through immunization, through the public health. We could even do much better, but we see we are doing well. We are now immunizing about, I think, 14 diseases. It used to be about 6 killer diseases. It's now about 14. You know how we have managed to handle COVID, all these other Morbag and this cholera and so on and so forth. We have been able to handle all those through public health measures.
Yeah, but the public health system, Moses,
which have worked.
For those who are there.
Even for the creative side, there are weaknesses, yes, but at least our target has been, how do you reach everybody? I mean, many people in shorter distances. That's why we have been emphasizing health center 3 per sub-county. I grew up from Bunyoro in Hoima district. Apart from Hoima Hospital, which was serving the most of Bunyoro, I think the whole of Bunyoro had 3 hospitals when I grew up. Kagadi Hospital, Hoima Hospital, and Masindi Hospital. The whole of Bunyoro. You can imagine. But today, now the one in Hoima is now regional referral. You're talking about Mulago. That time it was national. It was only the big hospital in Uganda was Mulago. But now every sub-region has a referral, which services could be maybe offered at that time only at Mulago. Now, but beyond local, if you go to sub-counties in Bunyoro, how many now have
the health center 3s are not? But you need to find out really. You need to find out the functionality
yes,
of some of these health center 3s and 4s.
They are doing much better. They're doing well. At least even today, if you look at the recent population census results, maternal mortality has improved over time. Infant mortality between 1 year and 5 years has improved. The mortality between 0, that's being born at 1 year, has improved. All this is because of this health investment in the health sector. And I know these figures of the indicative figures of in the health sector, like maternal mortality, infant mortality, the length of the lifespan, we can now live out 68 years, are much better than we were in 1962.
Mr. Moses Byaruhanga, Senior Presidential Advisor, hold on to your point, sir, because we're going to take a break and the hot seat will be right back. Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the hot seat. My name is Patrick Amar. My guest tonight on this Independence Day is Mr. Moses Byaruhanga, Senior Presidential Advisor. And Moses is very optimistic. He thinks on the health sector, at least the government of now, that is running the affairs now, seems to have done a good job. You know, when you go back, Moses...
There's more to be done, but we are doing well.
Yeah, you know, also, you know, for example, if you look at the hospital infrastructure itself, yes, there have been some health center 4s and 3s, you know, built. But really, when you listen to the stories in there of sometimes congestion, of sometimes lack of medicine, sometimes of maybe finding a few health workers, you know, it is not enough to put a health center 4 at a sub-county or health center 3 without it providing, you know, service as is required.
Well, if you look at the budget, you can see it's a construction. Okay, first of all, the idea has been, let's have a health center 3 per sub-county. And today, many sub-counties have those health center 3s. I think the ones which don't have are lesser than, out of about 1,000, is it 1,300 sub-counties, something like that? The ones which don't have about 300, something like that. Very, very few compared to those who have. And yes, in the last 2 or so years, they were doing more of construction. But in the last 2 years, they have been doing now equipping, ensure that they are being equipped with the necessary equipment, which is due for those sub-counties, the health center 3s. And we have not continued in health center 4s because the idea was first ensure that every sub-county has a health center 3 before you embark on health center 4s and the districts. But also district hospitals at district level. But if the population is reached at sub-county level, you have less demand at higher levels.
Look at some.
That's the idea. But then the idea of stealing of medicines, because the government system sends medicines and other utilities to every health center or every health unit every 2 months. And they send a good chunk of them. Now, the question of management of these drugs to ensure that they're not stolen. It's true some drugs get stolen, and now that's why the president has been of late telling people that we empowered you with the leaderships at sub-county, the elected leaders, like a sub-county council. If you are a sub-county council at a sub-county, there is a health center 3 in your sub-county. It has received medicines. Take keen interest, because this is to serve the people who elected you, the council and the sub-county chairperson. You, the sub-county councillor who goes to the district council. Each sub-county is represented by 2, a direct representative and the one for ladies. Now, if they use their political power of being councillors at a district level, at a sub-county level, to check whether the drugs which have been delivered have been utilized by giving them to the patients. There's a time, sometime back, our office had sent some of the staff to some health centers in Mukono. And then they said, okay, whom did you give drugs this month or so? They gave them a list. And the good thing, they even record your village. When they went to some of those villages, the people were not there. Now, showing there's corruption in the distribution and how they sell drugs. But this could be fought at that level by the elected councils if they use their power correctly. So there's still a big challenge if our people know their powers. You have members of parliament coming from, there's no sub-county, there's no health unit which is in an area without an MP. The MPs, when and MPs are facilitated,
not only
that, to go to your constituency twice a month.
Yeah, that's part of the oversight.
The oversight role. Now, this some of the things they will be raising is that, but you people, you received the drugs or the other date. Who are the people who have received them? Where are they? So the political leadership has a role to play in ensuring the service delivery reaches the people.
Okay, well, granted, we have built more smaller health center 3s and 4s across the country, even though sometimes we think the service delivery there is one thing. But in terms of building a fully fledged hospital, look at what in the 60s the government of Dr. Milton Obote did. In fact, you're even mentioning about some of these hospitals. When you look at them, they're not comparable, Moses, with what were built now. Hospitals like Kagadi, hospitals like Masindi, Kiriandongo, hospitals like Kiboga Hospital, hospitals like Anaka, hospitals like Itojo or Abim.
There were 23.
Yeah, but these
hospitals, more than 23.
But these hospitals, you see really that somebody set out a plan to build real hospitals. These structures are still solid today.
Because they have been habitated. I disagree with you. Yes, they were built, 23 of them in Uganda. But even you look at the population, just look at the distances. I've told you, the whole of Nyoro, which I know very well, had 3 hospitals. Hoima Hospital, Kagadi, and Masindi. Now, if somebody, by that time, the Ulisa, which is now a district, was part of Masindi district. Ulisa is 70 kilometers away from Masindi. Now, anybody who's suffering from, say, malaria or what, would have to travel from Ulisa to Masindi. Do you think that was, and without a proper transport system? If you said you have a railway, you have a bus system, it would be okay for these people to come and be treated. But so, they were there, but so sparse. That's why our line as NRM was, no. Having just a hospital so far away from people might not even serve the people you want to intend to serve. That Kiboga Hospital is between, if you're coming from Hoima, Kiboga is about 70 kilometers. Now, people in between is there, between Hoima and Kiboga. The other side is Mubende Hospital. Also from Mubende to Kiboga, the distance was about like 70 kilometers. Then from the next now will be Kampala. You know,
Moses, I wonder the attention I'm bringing to you. If people almost 60 years ago could build such a robust, well set up hospital, if the same people were running the show now, what would it be like?
No, the point I'm raising is that yes, they were there, but they were so sparsely located that I said from Kiboga, the next now will be Mulago. Now, people in between there, where would they go? So that's why we said, no, let's reach the people at their sub-county level. It is deliberate to answer the question of the distance from the health center. That's why we have been able now to do immunization almost 100%, because immunization, in fact, is done at a parish. Today, a child who is not immunized is not because there are no vaccines or people to immunize, it is because the parents have not taken that child for immunization. And that's much, as I say, the preventive health is so good that in many cases, Uganda has also been a case study. The way how we handle like HIV/AIDS, how we handle even COVID, how we handle the others, Marburg and so forth. Uganda has been a case study.
Well, we have talked about HIV and AIDS. Moses, if it is not for the intervention right now of the United States government, especially in the care of HIV and AIDS, the situation will be very different, because almost $1 billion or thereabout, colossal sums of money, 80% in the care and the treatment of HIV, that money is coming from development partners.
Yeah, it's coming from development partners, which we appreciate, but also remember that we did a lot of public health on how to preventive measures.
Yeah, but you cannot, sort of outsource the job of keeping your people alive to a neighbor, to somebody else.
No, but where they have not, government comes in. We definitely wouldn't fail to raise money.
But you're aware almost 80% or more.
I know.
In the fight against HIV, which is a big health threat in Uganda.
The fight,
that is
the biggest fight,
subsidized by the Americans.
The biggest fight is on prevention. And prevention has been mainly funded by the government of Uganda. Yes, the U.S. government and others have helped us on ARVs and so forth, but it's a joint venture, preventive and curative. So you remember the president many years ago when he was going around schools educating people about how the disease spread. Some other African countries fear to do so. They said it would chase away tourists. But Uganda came out as #1 in Africa in terms of public health measures against the spread of HIV.
Mr. Moses Byaruhanga, Senior Presidential Advisor. We're going to take a break and the hot seat will be right back.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the hot seat. My name is Patrick Amar, and my guest this evening on this second independence anniversary is Senior Presidential Advisor Mr. Moses Byaruhanga. We are listening to the President address the nation from Busia today, and according to the latest census report data that he was quoting, 67% of the people are in the money economy. And because of initiatives, he says, like PDM, like Emyoga, like NADS, and that the 33 who are out of the money economy is because of laziness. Really? Laziness?
Partly, yes. Partly, yes. But also, the government, you see, when we started like PDM, the then figures were showing that 35% of the households in Uganda, and households were about 9 million or so. So you can calculate how many were not in the money economy. Now, a program like PDM, identifying 100 people per parish every year, out of 10,000 plus parishes, you are able to reach at least 10,000 households every year. We have implemented fully the PDM for the last 2 financial years. Each household, each parish getting 100 million, and the beneficiary being 100. This financial is going to be the 3rd financial year where people are getting that money. So by the end of this financial year, we should have reached a minimum of 30,000 households in Uganda.
Does that mean if it's 1 trillion per year, does that mean in the term of 5 years, each parish will have like 500 million?
Yeah. And by the way, in some cases you are hearing where people are saying, in our parish, the people who were in that category are no longer there. We have been having such a report. So, of course, even in homesteads, there are those who strive to work hard. There are those who declare this affair.
What are the indicators that this PDM has actually been a success at the parish? What happens to know that this has now transformed the parish?
Well, since I said it's only 2 years of the money going to the parishes, depending on what activities the people have been engaged in. If it is a quick, like sometime in April, I went with my team to Ruwero district. We met PDM beneficiaries in Ruwero sub-county. There are about 1,200 in the sub-county. And people are giving testimonies. Somebody said they had received 1 million shillings, bought 10 piglets at 100,000 per piglet, fed them for 2-3 months, and sold each one of them.
So are you saying that 1,200 beneficiaries in the sub-county?
Yeah. Okay. When sub-county has
and each sub-county, in that sub-county, they are giving 100 million per parish.
Per parish.
So it depends on how many parishes you have, then you can have a lot of money.
Yeah. Today, if you look at the funds going to a district, we have had other programs before, under NADS and the UCD, we had OWC. But let me finish this story. So this person had sold the 10 pigs now at 500,000 each and got 5 million gross. The one who received 1 million. If you say maybe the feeding was about 1 or 2 million for that period of feeding, then somebody has like a profit of 2 to 3 million now in such a short time. Now, depending on what I said, if somebody planted coffee, in last year it will take 2 years. So those that haven't got the benefits, but at least they have injected it in the soils. If the rains are good, they will get good.
How do they pay back the loan if they're not earning?
Well, the payment is after 2 years. So in any case, if even for coffee, within those 2 years you will have. That's when you start paying. You don't finish it in 2 years, but you start paying after 2 years. So the grace period is good enough for anybody who has engaged in agriculture to have gotten back some first income and start paying.
So as they are choosing those enterprises, because I can imagine some people will go in these crops that they have always done, maybe to scale it up, maize and cassava and all kind of stuff. What happens, because my worry is that, yes, you've given the money, yes, there's likely to be some kind of boom in the agricultural production, but if you're selling from within the village, well, that won't help you much. Even in the next village, they have produced the same. And yet we are suffering and really, literally begging our neighbors to buy our products. And value addition is not something you can get into in a year or two. It needs much more investment.
If in some of the cases, like you mentioned maize, their factories, like now the Mandela Group is receiving a lot of maize from the villages and processing it into maize flour, and they are also putting up a feeds factory. Soon they'll be making animal feeds for poultry, for cattle and so forth, for fish and so forth. So there are people who are investing in ethanol or in ethanol factories, which we can make ethanol from
cassava,
alcohol from cassava and maize as well, and sugar cane. So yes, we need more investment in the processing side. That's why we are capitalizing UDB to fund those who can process those goods. It's not the villagers buy from themselves. Basically, the ban of buying from them should be either the processor or the trader who's going to process that maize and sell it as a grain or something else.
So, but Moses, but I think I've asked you this before, and I should ask again. Considering that we're an agricultural country and you have given people money, in every parish maybe 100 million, assuming every sub-county has about 1,000 or 100 parishes, or 10 parishes alone, that makes it $1 billion.
Yeah.
And most cases you have more than that.
On average, a sub-county would have like 5 to 7 parishes.
Okay, so maybe about 700 million every year is injected in a sub-county. But if they go into agriculture and there is a boom production and there is no value addition that can come quickly, aren't we running a risk of people burning their fingers to have produce and with no market?
Well, first of all, what the district leaderships have to do is guide the people in enterprise selection. You can, you go into enterprises which don't have good market. That's why the president's message has always been on a 4-acre model: 1 acre for coffee, 1 acre for fruits, the other acre for food, the other acre you can have pasture for milk, for a dairy cow. Now, if people are concentrating on coffee and fruits, definitely those have a good market. Coffee has never failed to get a market. In fact, the challenge now on coffee has been value addition within Uganda. But today you never get a person who says they have grown coffee and failed to sell it. That's not there. The challenge is just processing it into and sell it as a finished product. That's what we have been struggling with. For fruits, yes, there are so many mini factories now processing fruit juice. We still have a big challenge. We could have more. But that's why we said we have UDB to try and help those who would want to expand. And if you recall, the president, during the State of the Nation address, he mentioned that he urged his colleagues in East Africa, the presidents, to waive non-tariff barriers where they are. And that continues to be a long story.
Okay. The
other day I was talking to some of the processors in milk and saying, today Kenya has opened up its market for dairy products from Uganda. I hope that continues, meaning that we have now a good ready market just in our neighbors in Kenya. And with other products, if we continue dialoguing with them, we have a good advantage as a country in terms of being we have good arable land compared to our neighbors. Some of them, like Kenya, Tanzania, South Sudan, are much bigger than us in terms of size, but we have good arable land and good climate compared to some of them.
Yes, and still in the area of agriculture, if you listen to senior citizens who were into the agriculture sector in the 60s, early 70s or before that, they seem to suggest that they were getting a lot of help from government through, advisory from the extension workers, that the extension work system was robust than it is today. No wonder these days you hear maybe our produce is being rejected in some cases because of quality. Our tea does not fetch the same premium amount like the Rwandan tea. The other day, South Sudan was like, no, we don't want your produce because it is of inferior quality because of post-harvest handling that was not good. Something is not right with our extension services, Moses.
Well, yes and no. Yes, in a sense that, first of all, we now almost every sub-county has an extension officer, agriculture extension officer, trained with a degree. Many of those people you're talking about in the 60s were even not degree holders.
But the issue is they understood the things.
Yes, this was understand, but the question is the work ethics. There, I must say. Now, it seems like I told you the power of the political leaders. The district, the sub-county extension officer, and you have three in some cases. You have an agronomist, a crop person. In some cases you have a veterinary, that is the animal livestock person, and in some few cases you have the fishery, where we have fishery village areas. We have a fish extension officer. Now all these are employees of the district local
Did I hear you at one point, Moses, state that you have interacted with extension workers and some cases you find them lacking, and that sometimes you could even offer, using your own experience, information that perhaps they didn't have, actually, that your own herdsman could even have handled better than the people who have been trained under university degrees? I think I heard that from you.
No, let me say what I have to say now. That the sub-county agriculture extension officers, together with the district extension officer, which they call the production officer, are employees of the district local government, yes, under the leadership of the district chairperson with the district council.
What is that supposed to mean?
What I mean that is the political leadership. Now, if you have those extension officers, and the people are saying they don't see them, they are not working. Now, and they are appointed by the District Service Commission, which even has power to disappoint them, to dismiss them. Now, if you are a district chairperson, Busia, where today we have had the Independence Day celebrations, and the sub-county extension officer in Lumino is one of the sub-counties in Busia, is not working. Why does that person remain on the civil service of the district?
So you think they should crack the whip?
Yes, they should do it. They should do it. But otherwise, I said yes and no. So there are more extension officers today than there has ever been before, because even the sub-counties are much smaller. So they should be able to reach out to the people and use radios. You don't even go to every farm. But if you go and say, hey, in this area we grow a lot of maize, how is maize handled? From growing to this and up to the...
But where do you agree with me now that there's a problem with extension?
Wait, I said there's a problem. I said now, but the solution, you look at the solution, you look at the problem. You look at the solution. Yes, it's a problem of poor extension services. So it's not lack of officers to do so. The officers are there. It's a challenge is on management, just supervision. And the biggest supervisor is the political leadership, which is elected by the people. Because there's the same people elected who are complaining about poor service. So if you want to give them a service, make sure that these people you have appointed. Moreover, the District Service Commission is appointed, these extension officers, is appointed by the district chairperson, not from central government. So we should also know who is responsible for what.
All right.
Now, in terms of... in the other areas, they are self-preparing. If you go to Mandela Millers here, Mandela Millers, they will not accept poor quality maize. If you come to me in Mega Milk, which I do, at the point of collection, I will not accept poor quality milk. So even the trading system of these commodities can easily enforce quality control without even the involvement of the government system. If I say I'm a maize dealer, I don't accept poor quality maize. Now, the system will work backwards to reject the poor quality maize, and then the farmers will know what to do and guide them what to do. So it's a two-way system.
All right, Mr. Moses Byaruhanga, Senior Presidential Advisor, we're going to take a break, and if the producer allows, he'll open the lines on this Independence Day so that we'll get to hear what Ugandans want to say on the 62nd Independence Anniversary for Uganda. We'll be right back.
KFM.
Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the Hot Seat. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight is Senior Presidential Advisor, Mr. Moses Byaruhanga. And we have also literally also looked into President Yoweri Museveni's, take on people who are in the money economy and those who are not. I already have Ugandans who are calling in. Tell us your experience, our journey 62nd anniversary. And in case you don't agree with me or Moses, that's okay. But remember to disagree with respect. I have a call online. Hello.
Thank you, thanks so much, Mr. Patrick.
Yes, go right ahead, sir.
You're talking to a code.
Yes, go right ahead, Michael.
Mr. Moses Byaruhanga, you're welcome to the show once again.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes. Mr. Moses, my concern is about the system.
About what?
The system.
The system government. These projects are good. And actually, you said it as endeavored that when the PDM money comes, should really reach the ordinary person on the ground. But the statistics are not, they are not, they are there, but they are not as expected. People have gotten this money, others were not sensitized well.
Are you talking about the PDM money?
Yes, I'm talking about the PDM money. So the PDM money, it still needs a lot of things. Because people thought that their money was going to give them to eat. Now it's time for it, but it was changed their lives. And finally, about the independence, Mr. Moses, yes, the NRM government has done a lot, but the lot it has done is being overwhelmed by the corruption, by the government officials who are just there to eat money. And for us here, we shall be continuing to quarrel. Museveni has done more harm than good, and yet he has tried as much as possible to make it as Ugandans be okay.
All right.
The system and corruption has portrayed.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael, there for your contribution. Moses, of course, will be able to respond to you. Let me also try to take another call online. I have a caller. Hello.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Wanyaka Hussein from Katoke.
From Katoke, your name again?
Wanyaka Hussein.
Wanyaka from Katoke. Go right ahead, sir.
Yes, you have discussed a number of sectors, and right now I'm concerned with the health sector.
Yes.
You have discussed about the health of Uganda. We are having different categories of people being cared for. When you look at Mulago Hospital, if an ordinary Ugandan goes for MRI, you cannot get it from Mulago. Why don't we have the same quality of service received by all Ugandans, not having the private wing? Because they are the same public doctors that are working on ordinary and the VIP. So you find that there is an inequality there. And when you look at the machines that were bought in Mulago, were bought on government money, and you find a private wing and then the public wing. So there is a problem there.
Okay, Mr. Wanyaka, thank you so much, Mr. Wanyaka, for your comment and the question in it. Mr. Moses Byaruhanga will be responding to you as soon as possible. Yes, you can bring in your questions or your comments that you have, or your experience. Our journey, 62 years of independence, is quite a milestone, and we're still moving on. Of course, the economy has expanded. There's no doubt about that. The population is big. There's no doubt about that. And the infrastructure development is quite substantive. But in terms of, the values and the quality, maybe that's where we're lacking. Let me take just one more caller, and that will be it. I have a caller line. Hello.
Good evening, Patrick.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is John. Now, Patrick, I'll give you a simple example.
Yes.
When you go to a Muslim and you try to tell them that there's a religion that's actually also good on this side, they will never agree with you. If you go to a Catholic, they will praise their religion as the one that's the best in all religions. Some applies to Mama Fina, because you can't tell Mama Fina to go to church or to the mosque. She believes her religion, her way of faith is the best. So what we're listening to right now from Mr. Moses, with all due respect, Moses, you're telling us something that you have been doing for the last 40 years and has yielded no good results in the big in a bigger picture, in a bigger context. We see countries that Uganda was better than, and at the moment, those countries are way, way better than Uganda, a million times more better than Uganda. Take a look at a country like Rwanda. Uganda was better than Rwanda. Look at Malaysia. At some point, Uganda was better than Malaysia. Can you bring Malaysia anywhere closer to Uganda right now? So, with all due respect, you've talked about these things. You're just like a religious person. A Catholic will not listen to any other person apart from what it is that they're doing in their Catholic church. Same applies to the Muslims. Same applies to the to Mama Fina.
So Moses is professing his faith, his political faith.
Exactly, the NRM thing. He's just, even when he knows that really what he's talking about is not working on the ground.
All right, you made your point, sir. I want to thank you so much. You made your point. In the interest of time, let me give Moses to respond to some of these comments he has been hearing. Moses.
Yeah, well, first, Michael Ekode, I thank you for your comments. Yes, in PDM, there's a need for more sensitization by the leaders at district levels on what the beneficial. First of all, it is part of the process. When the people apply who want to engage in certain projects, they are supposed to be sensitized. They are supposed to know who is going to receive money. The process, I don't have time to go through it, but that's part of the requirements. If it's not being done, then that's a question of now administration at that level. Otherwise, many people have received the money and used it for gainful investment. Mm-hmm. The benefits are coming. Yes, there could be those that maybe 20 or so % who thought that it was for eating, but at the end of the day, the majority
others call it per diem.
The majority of the beneficiaries are using that money for investment in different sectors. You will see the results. Today, when you look at coffee, Uganda today is earning $1.1 billion, $114 million from coffee. This is coffee government has been giving out selling through UCDA and NADS. So some of it didn't grow. But for those which went ahead and put in more effort, these are the benefits. Now, James, the one from Katuoke, mentioned about that Wanyaka from Katuoke talked about equipment in health centers and talked about MRIs. Yes, even when you look at NRM manifesto, one of the I had looked about it earlier, maybe you didn't listen or relate it. One of our areas of concern is to ensure that there is right equipment in all health centers. It's starting with Mulago, referral hospitals, and going down. That's part of our requirement, of our promise. Looking at financial resources available, we are implementing it in stages to ensure that, for instance, every regional referral should have an MRI, should have a CT scan of the highest standard. It should have people to manage them also. The other day, I saw the Minister of Health advertising some of the jobs, and I remember talking to the PS in the Minister of Health some time back, saying one of the challenges is to get people who can man and even repair some of those equipment. So what we are talking about is in line with our program as government, as NRM. Now, the last one, James talked about that I'm preaching this because I am in NRM. He mentioned some other countries are better off than us, and mentioned Rwanda. That one I disagree. If you look at the economy of Uganda and Rwanda in terms of many other things, GDP debt ratio, per capita income, and so on and so forth, Uganda is much better off. That one you can go fact. You can even go on Google and look at the per capita income for Uganda, per capita income for Rwanda. Look at the GDP debt ratio for Uganda, GDP debt ratio for Rwanda. You will see the difference for yourself, James. But other countries you will measure like Malaysia and others in the 60s were more or less at the same level. Yes, they took a good development path, which we are, I think, taking it. And one of the advantages of those Asian tigers, we have argued this before, Patrick, with you and me and others, is during the Cold War, part of the advantage that the West opened up its markets to some of the Asian tigers like Malaysia, like Singapore, Thailand, and so forth, to show close neighbor China that capitalism works better than socialism. So they benefited from a Cold War.
All right.
There's no Cold War today. We are now been fighting to be in those markets. So it is our responsibility. We may not have an advantage of Kulu to take off, but I know that helped them also advance.
All right. Moses Byaruhanga, I want to thank you so much for the time you've given us on this Independence Day anniversary. And I also want to thank you, the listener, for your company. And I want to even thank you more, the people who have participated by calling in on this show, which brings us to the end of tonight's edition of the Hot Seat. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same station. Happy Independence. Good night and good night.